people are created in the image of God. People deserve equal rights under the law, no matter what color you are, or which country you came from. But Louis Farrakhan is not the person that's beheading that organization.
No, it's not, by any means.
So it's, again, the hijacking and the use of names that are deceiving, and we have to be able to recognize, and it's difficult, and that's the reason why these things are camouflaged. What about Tikkun Olam? Tikkun Olam, or Tikkun Community?
Tikkun Community is named, or was established by Rabbi Michael Lerner on the West Coast, and Rabbi Lerner is a left-leaning liberal who unfortunately has become co-opted by a combination of the anarchists and the left radicals who are engaged in anti-war activities. There's another group called ANSWER, A-N-S-W-E-R, who is behind many of the anti-Iraq protest rallies that were held across the United States. And in one graphic example, in April of last year, ANSWER refused to have the Tikkun Community march in San Francisco with them because they were supporting Israel, sort of.
And what happened to free dialogue and free speech and all that? I listen. There's many incidences that I think that are important for us to realize. For example, what happened at Concordia with Netanyahu?
Oh, that was a absolute riot. Arab students on the campus in Montreal basically prevented Bibi Netanyahu from speaking and besieged an auditorium with over 600 people waiting and listening for him for their lives. They shattered windows, they broke through police lines. Bibi was unfortunately asked to withdraw and not speak.
What about the Amiri Baraka, the Yale talk?
Amiri Baraka, as a few of your viewers may know, was the former Leroy Jones in my day in the 60s and adopted Islam, or the Nation of Islam after a fashion, and has written some of the most anti-Semitic screed in the form of poetry. He came to Yale in April of 2003 under the auspices of the Afro-American Students Association there and gave patently anti-Semitic poetry, readings, and intimidated, notably, a few Jewish journalists who were part of the Yale Daily News. They had the courage to report on that.
What was the incident at Rutgers, the PSM convention protest and rally?
Well, what happened at Rutgers was that the PSM had a radical strain that was very anti-Israel. There was a big argument within the greater metropolitan Jewish community about not holding this event on a public campus in Piscataway, New Jersey, and what ultimately happened was that the president of Rutgers said you could hold it, but in a far distant location on campus. They rejected that, and then they went on to Ohio State to hold their convention.
Yeah, I wrote a letter about that.
Right.
Now, the Columbia David Project, the underground film, what did they capture on that film?
Well, that's an outgrowth of a project that was begun last spring this year by the David Project with our good friend Rachel Fish and Charles Jacobs of the David Project to interview students at both Columbia and Barnard who had gone through incidents of intimidation on campus.
Such as, being asked, Israeli being asked, that had served in the IDF, the army, or how many Palestinians did you shoot?
Or being denied that you're Jewish or a Semite in that regard by a number of faculty.
Yes. Now, again, our time is going a long way, and there are many different players on all of these sides. We can't talk about them all, but let's spend a little bit of a few minutes at least on the defenders of truth, open and honest dialogue, such as Natan Sharansky. He's a very big figure to us here in the United States. A refusenik, was in jail for many, many years, and now sits on the government. He's the deputy vice prime minister, and may very well go on to become the prime minister someday of Israel.
Well, if he does go on to become prime minister of Israel at some future date, it would be a godsend for American Jews, because he's very much intimately aware, because of his current ministry, which is the Ministry of Jerusalem and the Diaspora, and has been here in the United States on college campuses, and he knows essentially what this environment is all about.
Yes, yes. He was the one with the pie in the face.
Correct.
Now, Alan Dershowitz wrote a very important book. It's in my bathroom. I read it.
It's called
every day.
The Case for Israel.
Right.
It amounts to his version of a brief that he uses in his lectures across college campuses. And Alan speaks to very good effect in both general and college campus audiences.
I think he's very, very convincing.
Yes.
And Phyllis Chesler, Zionist feminist and author of The New Anti-Semitism. If you could tell us a little bit about her.
Well,
please.
Phyllis had her origins as a psychotherapist. She was involved with the Women at the Wall movement in Jerusalem, which has finally made some progress in that regard. But I consider Phyllis as a stalwart defender of truth speech on college campuses, and she demonstrated that at Duke University.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's just so many people here. Yossi Klein, Bat Yor, Nidra Polar, and Roz Rothstein, Dr. Charles Jacobs and Rachel Fish of the David Project,
right?
Lee Kaplan, and Pierre Rachov. We saw his movies recently. Some of them were rolled in here on Rabbi Rock. And again, we're coming to the end of our program, and the bottom line is be wary of titles, do the research, find out what organizations are before you sign up for them, and realize that who your friends are and what the issues are. And that's what we try to do here today, to alert the general public about some of the issues, some of the players, and we hope that we'll have you again as a guest here in Rabbi Rock, because we've got a lot more to talk about.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shalom.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נגדיש. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נגדיש. ושבחך אלוקינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי כמלך גדול, כי כמלך גדול וקדוש אתה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושת הנגדים. ברוך אתה השם, הקל הקדוש.